How do you transform a colossal church into a futuristic house? Or turn a dilapidated old barn into a stylish family home? From industrial workshops to crumbling cottages, this series follows brave homeowners.
There is a chance that they might not fit, so it's a little bit scary.
As they take on the seemingly impossible challenges.
If it goes either way, it could really damage the window. There you go.
Of transforming historic structures never built to be lived in. We explore the ancient master crafts and ingenious modern design it takes to build an historic home.
Well, that'll last for hundreds of years.
In this episode, an ambitious renovation hangs in the balance.
We do houses, that's our thing.
As this couple
Kayne has the vision. Kayne, you know, you could look at something and it's just a box, but Kayne can see something beyond a box.
battle mountains of sludge.
The drains in here are very, very shallow, so we're having to pump the foul away from the site.
And exasperated builders.
This is the first project he's worked on with me where he's actually wanted to quit multiple times.
Yeah, a couple of times.
In order to transform this historic 170-year-old former Methodist chapel,
We've had to tweak and remove the top cabinets. That's just delayed the kitchen by a couple of days.
into the ultimate dream home. Just 25 miles from London and with easy transport links to the capital, Bracknell is a typical commuter town. Situated in the Royal County of Berkshire, home to Windsor Castle, and with a future King George at school here, Bracknell has certainly come up in the world in recent years. Designated a new town and mostly rebuilt after the Second World War, architecturally, the area is now a mix of the modern alongside the traditional. Property developers and local football team owners Kayne and his wife Sophie are partly responsible for a lot of the town's more recent development. They've lived here all their lives and have known each other since they were 17 and 23.
Kayne and I do absolutely everything together.
But you say it's not enough. And I have to say to you, but we are together every single day, all day, every day, 7 days a week.
We disagree, we're like yin and yang, but I'm quite easygoing and we'll end up going along with Kayne's idea, which I'll come round to and end up liking usually.
In 2001, Kayne joined the family property business in order to learn his trade. Then in 2015, he ventured out on his own.
My DNA, my family, my history is very much property, right the way back to my grandfather. Is all property. What I did inherit from him was an unbelievable work ethic.
And my family is right the way back into sort of the 60s and 70s is football.
Since then, this personal and professional partnership has been responsible for much of Bracknell's more recent skyline.
We do houses, that's our thing. We build new builds. I've got a scheme for 88 houses in for planning at the moment.
Kayne has the vision. Kayne, you know, you could look at something and it's just a box, but Kayne can see something beyond a box. I don't see that.
It's also meant moving house a lot.
We have been together 26 years and we've moved 15 times in that period. Kayne can't stand still. He's just constantly moving forward and he's just always striving to get to do something better and bigger.
But in 2021, something smaller caught their eye. Online, they found this dilapidated 170-year-old Methodist chapel.
I mean, there was a leak in the roof and water was starting to get in and the roof probably didn't have many more winters in it.
The chapel had been empty for 3 years and was in need of some major work, but they instantly fell in love with it.
For sale sign went up and I think pretty much that afternoon, we bought it straight away. I think we literally closed on it within a week or two, a couple of weeks.
The purchase came at just the right time.
I've got cancer at the moment, and I'm going through chemotherapy. But the church is such a welcome distraction for me. It just gives me something to look forward to.
After a career of designing and building modern houses, the challenge of transforming an almost 200-year-old chapel into a home is something they're both looking forward to.
I know with an old building, we're going to need to do potentially some underpinning because it's sitting on a crushed ballast. It's got no footing. It's very much part of the process of old buildings.
We want to reclaim the old wooden floor and relay that, keep the old timbers on display in the bedrooms upstairs.
I think the biggest bit we've reclaimed those
is the altar, which we want to use as a headboard in the main bedroom, and possibly gold leaf it or do something sort of nice and exciting with it.
In their grand transformation, they plan to remove the old chapel gallery, staircase and offices at the back of the building. They'll also remove the altar and the stage. The kitchen extension will be demolished. And they'll create a new entrance, office, toilet and utility room. The main space will be open plan, occupied by a new staircase, kitchen and living room. Bifold doors will open out onto a courtyard, which they'll build. The staircase will lead up to the newly created mezzanine floor, which will contain a master bedroom and ensuite. A gantry across the open living space will link to a dressing room and family bathroom. Having owned the building for approximately 18 months whilst the planning application went through, Sophie and Kayne are now ready to tackle the works, armed with a budget of around £200,000.
So it's 2 rooms upstairs, one main bedroom with ensuite, and then a second room which is designated as a storage room, which also has a second kind of main bathroom.
Kayne and Sophie bought the chapel for £280,000, but with the average 2-bed detached house in Bracknell going for around £695,000, even with all the work, this is a huge bargain. However, the restoration of older buildings often comes with some unwanted surprises.
Nothing is ever as you expect it to be with a restoration. This building's been here 170 years. So, you know, when you have to dig down and underpin, when you're digging down, you find things and you have to constantly adapt and flex your plans because nothing's a straight line with a restoration like this.
The windows are going to be black and they're going to be the same shape as they currently are, so and they'll look great.
I really think when them windows go in, it's going to be that step. And then I think the next biggest step is we retain the old door. So there's a door from 1850, lovely oak door
nice.
That we're gonna. And I suppose it's the thing that makes it most look like a church from the front.
With planning permission granted to change the use of the building to residential, the first job for Kayne's team is to strip out the interior back to an empty shell. The idea of building regulations was in its infancy when the chapel was constructed back in 1854. The structure has no real foundations and is practically resting on gravel. With the chapel now stripped back to just its outer walls, they need to underpin the building to give it strength and stability before interior work can begin. To support the back wall and newly created opening, Kayne's team dig 4 1-metre-long sections of foundation. With the back wall now partially floating, they insert 3 steel rods on each side of the holes and fill with concrete. The remaining soil between the pins is removed and replaced with more concrete. Next, they build 2 more 1-metre deep concrete pads to support the new mezzanine level. They build a 3rd lateral trench across the main body of the building to support the new bedroom section. With the underpinning in place, they erect a new steel frame on top of the 2 side pads and build a brick wall over the cross foundation. Together, the steel skeleton and wall support the new mezzanine level above. Rob New is head builder on the project.
I've known Rob for years, but this is the first project he's worked on with me where he's actually wanted to quit.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Couple of times.
Yeah.
Couple of times.
Digging the holes for the new foundations proves challenging.
It was just the sheer physicalness of digging out with a little shovel in a tiny hole under the building. It's worrying that something could collapse. We're working on it together, and Kayne likes the point, and I do what he says.
And we work well together.
Yeah, we do.
It takes 3 months to get the new foundations into place and strip out the interior. The original chapel had no running water or a toilet, so the team need to install a whole new sewage system.
Right behind you now is the septic tank, well, actually the pump station going in. Again, the drains in here are very, very shallow, so we're having to pump the foul away from the sites. That's quite a big job that's going on there now.
Wastewater from the downstairs loo, utility room and kitchen will run from the front of the chapel to the back, in pipes beneath the floor. Water from the ensuite and bathroom upstairs will flow into the same network of pipes. This water will run out to a large pump chamber that is being buried 3 metres beneath the rear courtyard. Here it is macerated and pumped back up to a surface drain. This drain then falls back to the front of the building and will discharge into the main sewer system under the road.
It's been a massive learning curve. When this was built 170 years ago, someone wasn't building it with a thought process that in 170 years, we're going to be putting a toilet in the front or a shower or a sink. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
After a pause in the work waiting for a planning amendment to be approved, they are now full steam ahead, and it looks like they're making good progress.
So this will be the living room. I would say probably this has been the most challenging part of all of this build. This is where the superstructure, this wasn't here, so there's a room above this. So we've had to build the superstructure in here, the steel superstructure. You've got a steel running through there, hidden in that wall. That steel is holding these floor joists, similar, and it's sitting on that front steel there. So then the load of that steel is being transferred to the outer, to them 2 outer walls. We're going to have an open plan, modern kitchen, very sleek, very, very contemporary.
I think we'd like a black kitchen.
But no doubt that's subject to change. I think because a lot of the windows and some of the steel is going to be black. I was thinking maybe a black kitchen will work. But it's one of them, once you see, it's quite a dominant colour, and it might not work. It might not work.
To go look at the samples, etc.
The original planning consent for the conversion had 2 staircases inside to access the upper level, but Kayne and Sophie have negotiated an amendment for just 1 set of stairs to save precious space and realise their dream of creating an industrial loft-style living area.
This whole area, it never had this ceiling above our head. So we've added a 2nd floor, and by adding that 2nd floor, this church, when it was built in 1854, was not designed to hold a 2nd floor. So ultimately, we've just had to reinforce, we've had to brace and reinforce this whole back section to take that floor.
Kayne's team is working incredibly quickly. Once finished, the wow factor will be the new mezzanine floor.
So it's up on the gantry, I call it a gantry, well, sorry, we're up on the gantry, which runs from the front of the church to the back. I was looking for that real industrious look, and this is something I'd seen in them New York loft apartments, in some of the properties I'd seen in London. Again, introducing metal with the brick, with the original wooden beams. So if you look at these, you can actually still see the bark on them, the original wood beams. They're kind of literally felled trees with minimal work done to them, and you know, it's really features like that, retaining features like that.
So interesting.
Yeah. So this is all the reclaimed floor. So this was reclaimed from underneath the old, on the ground floor. It was hidden under carpet, concrete, and a membrane was sat on top of all this. So when we broke out the concrete, this was like finding gold. It was brilliant. So we retained it, put it to one side, and it's great to now see it going back in as the flooring.
With the mezzanine floor now in, Kayne's team has started to create the master bedroom, dressing room, and bathrooms upstairs. And with the exterior walls cleaned and restored, it's out with the old blue UPVC windows and in with the new conservation-approved black aluminium ones. Builder Ken needs to be sure that everything is square and true before they're installed.
Just checking that the stone sill is level before we put the frame in and what I need to pack under the frame to get it square. If it's unsquare, it won't open properly. Right, you go round, Dean. Gently. Go to you. Go to you. Let's stay there. Let me just see. That's it. Right. That'll do you there, mate. And then a bit to me. That's it. That'll do you there.
Lovely. Yeah.
Right, so we're setting the glass on the blocks in the corner, and then we'll put it in place. So this will square the glass up in the frame itself. So now the glass is now sitting square, so the lines are all straight. And now we'll put the beading on.
The windows look great and reference the Georgian-style originals, but it took Kayne a lot longer than he thought to get them in.
I probably should have placed the order for the windows far earlier on in the project, but historically, I kind of place an order for windows and then 2 weeks later, I can have my windows. Some of the timelines I was being given for these was 26 weeks for an arch profile. I definitely know if I'm offering on any properties in the future with any unique shaped windows, I've got to place the order day one because it takes some time.
The new windows and bifold doors will really increase light levels inside and contribute towards the loft style thereafter. Now, this may be a chapel restoration, but its inspiration is being drawn from riverside warehouse buildings. The banks of the River Thames in London were lined with commercial buildings back in the 18th century. These warehouses were used to store cargo and make goods such as ship sails and candles. 200 years later, there's a boom in converting these old and often abandoned structures into industrial-style living spaces. Transforming these large spaces into comfortable places to live is a challenge, but the final results can be eye-catching and inspiring. Mark and Jason bought their loft-style apartment 4 years ago in a building that was once used to make rope. The transformation is spectacular.
When we first walked in, it felt like a completely different scale of property to anything else we had seen. It was almost like that sort of New York loft feeling, but in London.
I also like the warehouse conversion because of space. We want to see through from this side of the room all the way down to the other side. And we'll be able to appreciate those old windows and glass we can see from any single corner.
It was tired. It looked a little bit empty at the time. But the sheer scale, you could hear the noise of the waves, the kitchen. We just saw the potential. We love the architectural features, so the beams, the metal, and the floorboards are all fantastic. And we've tried to retain as much of that as possible and not take away from it. It was pretty much entirely open plan when we bought it. We felt it was important to just have a little bit of separation of the spaces, so we created a large bedroom suite with walk-in wardrobe, large bathroom. We wanted a second bathroom as well, so we put all of that in place.
My favorite area is the places I call it the cozy corner. I lie down sofa, have a coffee, and hear the waves coming up. Imagine on a beach holiday.
My favorite area is probably the kitchen. It's great for entertaining, that you can have people around the island, and it gives me the ability to do that.
Creating this loft look in this old chapel will be no simple task, but the open plan layout and windows will create a light and airy space. Kayne's long experience in the building trade has enabled him to schedule the work here efficiently. Inside, things are progressing well. The team have installed some of the electrics and are laying a level concrete floor. And now Kayne can start to think about fixtures and fittings. Restoring an historic building is a bit like doing a huge jigsaw puzzle. You need to get the outer edges in place before you can start to assemble the pretty picture in the middle. The kitchen is set to be delivered in just a few weeks, and all the windows are now in. Kayne is very much the driving force on this build. But even though Sophie isn't on site all the time, she's a crucial member of the team.
My treatment's going really well. I've got a little way to go. I've got a few more months left. But so far, my tumour's responding to the chemotherapy. So hopefully that carries on and then, it eradicates it completely, which would be amazing.
Sophie's ongoing treatment has meant she hasn't been involved with the restoration as much as she'd wanted.
The build itself is all going absolutely fine. I get regular updates. If I've got the energy to go for my morning jog, which I try and do at least 4 times a week, even throughout chemo, I will jog past and pop in and have a quick look and see how it's coming along. Kayne spins a lot of plates, and he's very good at that, at managing everything. But, I mean, obviously, yeah, it must be a struggle for Kayne, really, as well. But he's holding it together. He's a strong person, and, I'm fortunate I've got him because he's been really strong for me, too, which is really important. Once it's all furnished, and there's no one in there finishing anything off, and it's just us, and then we just walk in. I think that'll be, I'll take a deep breath, think, wow, we've done it.
It's now March 2023, and in Bracknell, the team transforming Sophie and Kayne's once derelict chapel is in full force. Much of the major work is complete, so now they're entering a new phase of the restoration.
All the final plastering's going on. Decorating has started and will continue for the next few weeks. And then today, we're getting ready for the floor to go down.
This building site is fast becoming a home, and Kayne can't wait for it to be finished.
This is the week where we switch to, I've got a day team that start at 8 and work till 4:30, and then I've got a night team that start at 4:30 and work till 1 a.m. And by the time the morning crew get in tomorrow morning, their first job will be to cover up what the night crew done so they can get on and do their job.
Even with this back-to-back work, Kayne's original 6-month schedule has slipped by several weeks.
The windows knocked everything out, which then knocked the decorators back by a week. Then, honestly, the kitchen then had to be kicked back by a week. We'll catch back up. We'll catch back up in the next week.
With work ramping up downstairs,
Jay, need to get some breakers so we can temp this up.
Rob and the day team can crack on with the carpentry upstairs in the bedrooms. And after 4 weeks of work, the electrics are finally ready for the big switch on.
Right, is it off?
Yeah, it's off.
There you go. Yeah. All right?
Yeah.
This is the start of second fix. So second fix we mean with regards to actually fitting the fittings. First fix is obviously all the cables going in. Second fix is the lights, we're putting them on and making them work.
With the electrics now installed, the day team departs so the night team can take over. The team are laying 1 metre square concrete tiles across the concrete floor base. Each tile needs to be put in position by hand and requires the entire night to set in place. The tiles will eventually cover the whole downstairs floor and the treads on the stairs. It's now 18 months since Sophie and Kayne began transforming this historic chapel. The lighting is installed and almost all the walls are now fully plastered. The space is now beginning to take on the look of the New York loft-style apartment that they so wanted. With the new floor down and looking really sharp, the ultra-modern kitchen is going in.
First of all, you get the drawer in, have a measure up, check that it sort of works, and then, yeah, just start building the carcasses, put the legs on, go from there, put them in place. It's quite straightforward. Put the doors on, put the handles on. So now it's just get up, go to work, fit kitchen, come home.
Designing and fitting a brand new modern kitchen into an old structure like this takes great skill. Kayne's opted for standard-sized units and ordered additional cabinets to go on the top to make the most of the tall ceiling height. But there's a problem. The new bridge is where the cabinets are supposed to be.
The issue you have up here is that technically these sit on top. But obviously, with that there, they don't. No, I can't have it now. Well, even if you put one here, your doors would be different heights, so it just doesn't look right.
When the end is so clearly in sight, these last-minute problems can be very frustrating.
We've had to tweak and remove the top cabinets, which then means the cabinet that goes on the wall has to be changed. So that gantry definitely threw a bit of a curveball into the design. It wasn't picked up in design really, so we're now working to change that. So it's delayed the kitchen by a couple of days.
It's a minor delay, but it certainly hasn't put Kayne off. He's got bigger plans for the future.
There's big learning curves all the time on projects like this. I think I fancy doing another one now. I want to try and find a bigger church to restore. So I've definitely learnt an awful lot on this one.
Ultimately, Kayne decides not to fit the cabinet extensions. It takes 4 weeks to finish the kitchen to his satisfaction, and he's catching up on his schedule.
The flooring's gone down, the kitchen's now gone in, the worktops have just been templated and will go in next. The front cloakroom's done, utility room's nearly done. Upstairs is at about 80%, so the bathrooms have gone in. We're kind of working over the next 7 days to get ready for decorations.
When it's finished, the interior of the chapel will have a very modern 21st century look. But reusing and restoring what they can salvage is also important to Sophie and Kayne. One of the key features they want to retain is the chapel's oak front door, made up of 2 panels. It's down to Chief Builder Rob to restore them to their former glory.
Kayne sent them off to be stripped and then waxed.
To remove 170 years' worth of paint, the doors were sent to a specialist paint stripper.
They come back and you could still see big dinks in them, lots of woodworm. So basically, I've sanded them down, primed them, sanded down again, and now I'm on my 3rd top coat.
Kayne has inserted modern glass panels into the original Victorian door frames to fuse the old with the new.
I mean, it's nice to know the history. You've still got the original doors on the front of the church. But yeah, black will match the windows and give the nice feel of the look of the place looking from the front, yeah.
At the chapel, the walls of the bathrooms are now tiled. The team is gearing up to install the shower doors. These are bespoke owing to the unusual shape of the room and have cost £3,000.
The actual door glass is around 30 kilos, and that small one's about 10.
The ceiling of the bathroom slopes down at a sharp angle. These doors have been custom made to precisely fit. Will they go in without a hitch?
I don't know if this is going to fit. It is nerve-wracking because there's nothing you can do once it's made.
While Paul finishes the bathroom, Kayne and Sophie are working together in the bedroom, repurposing the old chapel altar into a headboard.
We're going to gold leaf this bit. We've got loads of experience of gold leafing. We're master gold leafers, so it's gonna look amazing.
Brave words. However, experienced builder Rob isn't convinced.
It's something I watched on TV some time ago. It looked really simple, but I'm not sure it's going to go that way today.
One in there.
Oh, gosh. Every time I pick it up, it just sticks.
Yeah, look,
It's just tears immediately. Do you have to... Oh, well done. That's
literally,
great.
you don't...
You
You're
can't
being...
use that one. That's gone.
Don't handle it delicately.
Done it perfect.
Just whap it in.
The plan is to put the gold leaf over the whole of this central panel. Each book of 24-karat gold sheets is around £10. So this free headboard could end up costing quite a bit.
I think if I was doing it alone, I'd nailed this pretty simply and not wasted any.
The work in the bathroom needs a little more precision.
I can now drill the wall exactly where I need the glass to be.
Next door,
Look, see the gaps? Just brush it into the gaps.
it's a different story.
I just want to get in there and do it myself.
When you watch it online, it looks really, really easy. When you put it into practice, it makes it all very, very stressful. Very, very stressful.
This is a moment of truth whether it fits or not.
What do you reckon, Rob?
It looks a mess at the moment.
Right. That's what gold leaf's meant to look like.
Good as gold. That is done. Perfect.
But the gold in the bedroom is less so.
Personally, I don't think it should look too perfect.
And Sophie seems to think so too.
Because everything is not of a normal size. It's been really tricky. But it's here, it looks fantastic. It looks really, really good. I'm really pleased with it. I chose all the finishing and everything for the bathroom. Kayne wanted to go with the black taps and everything else. And I said no, I didn't want to go with that. So and I think I've made the right decision. So I do get a say sometimes.
It's taken around 2 years from buying the chapel through the planning application stages and build, but the restoration is finally finished. And as first impressions go, it looks like Kayne and Sophie have pulled it off. They've done their utmost to retain the chapel's authenticity. From the Georgian-style windows to the restored and repointed brickwork, and the spruced-up date stone commemorating its opening in 1854.
It's amazing. I'm so pleased to be in. I love what we've done, and it's kind of cool.
Well, all the way back when we first bought it, I had a picture in my head that I wanted to recreate here. I kind of just had this picture of metal, brick, and that kind of, this is personal to me, but I always wanted to live in one of them like New York lofty type apartments or one of the quays in London, and that's something we wanted to try and recreate here.
The mix of glass, brick, and light in this space really delivers the loft-style living feel that Sophie and Kayne were hoping to emulate. By retaining the double-height ceiling, they've really preserved the chapel's sense of scale. While their use of restrained materials, including the red brick, exposed metalwork, and simple dark colours, builds on the loft-style look.
The mishmash of materials here, I love it. Brick, metal,
superb.
It's just so interesting, isn't it? It's really light and airy. And obviously, as well, you've got the ceiling height again, changes in ceiling height, which is really lovely. And it's actually quite light in here, much lighter than I thought it was going to be. And love the kitchen. We've gone for like a charcoal grey rather than jet black.
We were, all the way through the early phases, we were thinking traditional, traditional, traditional. And then I think we'd looked in some books and we'd seen super modern. And we just thought it may work. And we wanted to go for something a bit more clean lined. Well, it was a complete turnabout face because the original kitchen was very countrified, kind of a bit of a traditional shaker, plates on display, glasses on display, a bit more clutter, you know, a bit. Whereas what we ended up going for was a super modern. Clean lines.
Everything hidden. Everything hidden, nothing on display. So always looks super clean and tidy.
The gantry leading to the new mezzanine level is a triumph. Kayne had doubts about sticking to the original plan for 2 staircases, one at the front and one at the back. His foresight has really paid off.
For me, it works. You've got this massive high ceiling above the kitchen, big high ceiling above the staircase. So if you was in an apartment in this kitchen with a normal height ceiling, I think it'd feel quite restricted.
Yeah.
But because you've got that big void above, it feels so spacey. Such a small kitchen, but so spacey. We made the gantry wider. It was going to originally be narrower, but because we went for, we changed the design through here to double doors. But by introducing double doors, it didn't look right to have the gantry as narrow as it was. So I decided to take the gantry wider, but then that meant that the cupboards that were ordered couldn't sit as high as they were due to be sitting because they would have hit the underside of the gantry. So I created some problems for myself that I had to navigate around.
The open plan layout flows from the kitchen and living space right through into a courtyard garden area that may be small, but adds even more character to this home.
We don't have a garden, it's just a small courtyard area, but it's a real sun trap. And then, I mean, before it was this, it was actually a kitchen and a toilet area.
There was a sink here, gas meter there, and a toilet over in that corner there. It's like Sophie said, it's a sun trap, and the sun hits that white.
Reflects the light,
and makes
really
the space work. Personally, I love this. This is perfect for me. I would live in an apartment with no garden, and a balcony would do me fine. But this, because you can just
hoover it.
Hoover it. We have hoovered it. Quick hoover, and in. I love it.
Upstairs, the original pitch pine floorboards have been restored and relaid.
It's brilliant to be able to reuse that, and the way it contrasts with the beams above is superb.
The dressing room and ensuite have a cleverly crafted design to maximise space and headroom. And in the master bedroom, they've echoed much of the chapel's old character with the beautiful arched windows, the unlacquered radiator, and the continued use of simple materials. The old altar has been transformed with a lick of gold leaf into their bed's headboard.
This is the one that's probably split the audience or in our group of friends and family. Actually, I don't think I've heard many people say anything positive about it. I think most people find it a bit weird.
It works for us and we like it.
For a couple who have never taken on a restoration project before, Kayne and Sophie have really embraced the task and done it brilliantly.
Yeah, really pleased with the finish. It kind of goes back to right at the start when I first said to you, the church is for sale. I think we should get it. From that very first millisecond of seeing the for sale board and the vision, it is what I certainly had in mind.
Yeah.
The challenge with old buildings is really, I would say, getting the access into them, getting your machinery into them, and a lot of stuff has to be done with hand, by hand. So it just takes time, and that's the one thing
I think I've said it before, if you didn't have the experience doing this, I don't know, I think it'd be scary. And everything in these types of conversions takes time. This building, you think, 1850.
54.
So, and you can see, as we stripped back the layers, you can see things like the beams up in the roof. I can see that that was probably dragged by a horse from a wood, from around here. Very, very minimal work was done on that timber. The bark, in certain places, the bark hadn't been removed.
It's still on there,
and it's
isn't
been
it?
kind of pushed up into form of roof structure. And you think about them moments, you think, that was 170 years ago. And that's what makes buildings like this so interesting. I suppose with this type of building, this building will stand for another 100 or so years. We're custodians of this building in this moment. And we are the people that have taken it from a church into a home. And
it's so unique.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. I mean, you know, anybody else that may have renovated a church, it isn't this one. It is totally unique to us, isn't
completely
it?
unique.
Yeah.
So we paid 280,000. We've ended up spending a good couple of $100,000. We didn't build this to sell it. We didn't build it, but with any of our properties, you have to build with a
view to making a profit.
With a view to, at some point, you may sell it, you may rent it out, and you have to always have in mind, who is your target? What we didn't do with this one was compromise. You know, if we'd have come out of this pretty neutral, so be it. Coming out of it with a margin, fantastic. But that wasn't necessarily at the forefront of our mind with this property.
While Kayne was battling the problems of converting a run-down Victorian building, Sophie was undergoing a battle of her own.
I'm sort of 4 weeks out of finishing chemotherapy. It's all going in the right direction, so all positive. A bit of surgery and a couple more procedures to go through. But at the moment, yes, it's all really promising and I'm really positive about it.
So was all the hard work worth it?
This is the type of project that you need to be liquid. You need to have the cash. I think with period properties, they're not for the faint-hearted. And if your pockets aren't deep, keep walking.
Yeah.